Welcome, Wargamers, to the mind-bending magics of the mortal realms, because today we're talking about a sect of the Lumineth Realm Lords that raises so many questions, but it's also fascinating to think about as is. And I speak, of course, of the great nation of Illiatha. And today's story comes straight from the first Lumineth Realm Lord battle tome in a story called the Battle of Simulacra, which is a word that I'll define here pretty soon. A flamestorm of demonic energy summoned by the Black Phoenicians, an Arcanite cult hidden within Zintiel's universities, crosses the Girdle Sea to reach the coast of Lucid Dreams. It causes untold havoc, burning and mutating much of the coastland. When the Inferno reaches the lands north of Tor Quilon, it traverses stretch of lands scarred by one of the great disasters of the Akari Dara, and reopens an old wound in reality. Hundreds of Tzeentchian flamers spill through, and the firestorm intensifies. Illiatha's matriarchs have already moved to counter the evil storm, and the forces of that great nation surround and contain the demonic incursion with uncanny efficiency. Protected from the warp fire by mystical barriers, they close in to engage the foe in combat, and the flamer demons are systematically cut down. Yet the minions of Tzeentch have one last trick to play. A strange quirk of the Phoenicians' summoning ritual means that every time one of the demons is killed, it reforms on the far side of the realm gate in the realm of chaos, ready to plunge through again. The clone matriarch of Illiatha realizes this when she sees the same gangling monstrosity being slain and then reappearing 3 times in as many hours. She orders a determined counter-assault, led by a wedge of Dawn Riders and the matriarchs themselves. The Aurelian infantry press towards the tear in reality at the heart of the flamestorm. One of each pair of clone twins is ordered through into the hideous, mind-bending landscape of crystal that stretches beyond, whilst the other twin remains behind to continue the fight. And so strong is their soul link that they can still feel each other's minds across the span of the dimensions. When a clone twin deals a death blow to one of the flamers in Hysh, their opposite number in the realm of chaos destroys the replacement with an uncanny synchronicity that sees the magical rite of the reincarnation broken. Though the danger to Illiatha is contained through a triumph of bravery and magical skill, and the rift is sealed with a counter-rite known as the Saline Stormbreak, the engagement ends in tragedy as the clone twins that ventured into the realm of chaos find themselves unable to return. Now, there is a ton to unpack there. I'll be honest with you, that first whole paragraph, it should have been on the chopping block and just got rid of. They're just telling you where it's happening, so they're just listing off local areas. It's not super important to the story. What matters is that in Illiatha, a rift opened up, and we're going to talk about the unique way that they went ahead and dealt with it. For those new to AOS, or really just this faction, I really do suggest checking out the playlist below regarding the Lumineth Realm Lords, because some of this stuff is going to seem way out there, but for a short sum up, the Illiathans are a matriarchal Lumineth nation, and that really has its identity rooted in the notion that the elven race needs to thrive, but specifically numerically. If you spend your whole centuries-long life learning, becoming these arcane masters and all these kinds of stuff, but then you die having hoarded that knowledge, it does nothing for the rest of the species. Rather, in their mind here in Illiatha, every elf should strive to have as many children as possible and then push that generation to even greater heights of knowledge and learning and wisdom. In so doing, you bring more light into the world, a prosperous race biologically and of course in other ways, magically for example. And given that the elves, traditionally in most fantasy settings, have been on the brink of extinction due to their low population, it makes sense to have one enclave that's just like, guys, this needs to be a priority. Teclis remade his people in the Age of Sigmar. They didn't want to squander it at all, this rebirth, this opportunity, so let's prosper and fill the realms, right? And for that, I'm so on board. And it's actually why they venerate females and have matriarchal societies. They are the life givers and are revered for it. But there's a problem. A problem that every single Lumineth nation has had to face is that they're still elves prone to hubris and, to a certain extent, a level of self-destruction. Now, I cover this more in the Lumineth playlist, but the event known as the Spirefall was their own personal age of chaos on Hysh, where the unfettered magics unleashed across the realm saw huge rifts to the realm of chaos open up and demons pouring in. That's what they did in the story. The demons found one of these rifts and reopened it. But this was a kind of a culmination of the sins of a lot of different elven nations. So how did Illiatha contribute to this dark and hellish period? Their values seem good, right? Family-based elves. And the answer, as it often is shortcuts. You see, some elves got it in their head that a really, really quick way to have a population boom is to divide. They can magically separate themselves into a set of clones, like making their own doppelganger, but it's not evil. It's called a simulacra. And this was taken to the extreme, as elves are wont to do, some having 8 or more clones. Again, obsessive problem solving backed by magically fueled hubris. But these clones began to hear whispers of chaos, and while it's not directly stated, I get the impression that the more an elf divides themselves, it kind of separates their consciousness and whatever, it makes them somehow more susceptible to chaos. And so things fell apart for them. During the reinvention, where after the Age of Chaos ended in Hysh, Teclis was trying to get the reins back together, he was able to wrestle control of Hysh back to the Lumineth Realm Lords, and a law was instated that an elf of Illiatha could have no more than 2 bodies per soul. So that's why in the story, everybody has a clone twin, but you can't have more than that. And so I tell you all that to explain the significance of this story from the battle tome, which I'll break down a bit more. Like I said, the whole first paragraph, it's just locations, so you can kind of get a sense of where they're at. But for the most part, what you need to know is a Tzeentchian host busts onto the scene in Illiatha and opens up a long, sealed portal to chaos. It has to be old, maybe like an old realm gate or something like that. They use the word realm gate in the story. But there's a very specific ritual that basically puts a spawn point, to use video game terms, immediately on the chaos side of that gate. So you have a point in Hysh where demons are, and then just across the veil in the realm of chaos, just between a door that links the two, is this spawn point. This way, when a demon, say a flamer, is killed in Hysh, it immediately spawns on the chaos side, right by the door to cross right back over. And this is the single most efficient demon war machine I've ever heard of. All these other battles, right, demons get banished and it takes a lot of time for them to return. But this is instant reinforcements. No matter how bad they might be in a fight, because, Tzeentch demons are not renowned for their melee prowess, endless numbers will tear down any enemy given enough time. So that's incredible, right? If I was that sorcerer, I'd be patting myself on the back. You'd be like, I nailed this. But the way Illiatha handles this is so unique to them that I just love it. Because one thing I didn't mention about these simulacra, these clone twins, is that they are of one mind and soul. So they can move in perfect symmetry far away. And so mid-battle, the matriarchs devise a killer plan. The army divides into 2 forces, one of each elf in separate detachments. So there's the original you, and then there's the clone twin you. We throw all the clones into one thing, all the OGs into the other, and we have 2 armies now. One stays in Hysh, killing demons and defending the populace. The other follows a cavalry charge into the realm of chaos itself, and using their perfectly synchronized bond, they can kill a demon twice, almost at once. One killed in Hysh, and then as it rematerializes in the realm of chaos, the other takes it out. And so that action breaks whatever ritual is linking, this spawn point to them. Almost as if being struck down in the realm of chaos means you can't use that spawn point. And this completely reverses the math on that endless demon army, right? Killing them twice and draining their numbers means the demon army can be pushed back further and further from their gate in Hysh, while the other fighters in the realm of chaos just stand in place at the spawn point and defend. right? One hand is offensive, meaning the forces in Hysh pushing them back towards the gate, and then the other army is defensive, meaning they just have to be guarding this specific point in the Realm of Chaos. Now, I have a bunch of thoughts as to why I think this is so cool. It's one of the stories that I really wanted to highlight. It did not change from book 1 to book 2. It's a copy-paste thing. But I do want to talk about it a bit more. I'm going to do that right after just a very quick word from today's sponsor. Hey Wargamers, Doug here, and I want to talk to you about a crazy awesome book that you can use to create some exciting locations for your heroes and your stories. Spectacular Settlements breaks down how to build the most engaging locations, and while it's certainly designed for role-playing games, and it is role-playing game agnostic, you can use it in any one that you want, from D&D to Soulbound, it also has a lot of really great uses for Age of Sigmar. Whether you're designing a bastion of chaos, a city of Sigmar, or just a rugged settlement of destruction out in the wastes, this book walks you through how to design a city, and I mean design a city with its culture, its history, its physical appearance all in mind. There's so much inside this book to help you really flesh out all of the minor details of your city and really bring it to life. It's a fabulous tool for creating unique environments for both your narrative as well as any games that you might be bringing players into. So if you want some dazzling locations for your City of Sigmar, your Soulbound crew, or any other role-playing game, check out Spectacular Settlements in the description down below. Now back to the show. Okay, so why is this battle so cool? Why did I choose the Battle of Simulacra? I love that this faction highlights symmetry. It's a major theme of the Lumineth Realm Lords. It's something, if you read their lore from the front page onward, symmetry is just it's a part of Hysh, it's a part of the Lumineth Realm Lords themselves. Everything is meant to be in perfect harmony, and symmetry is the word they always use. But the thing is, symmetry is a hard concept to demonstrate in a battlefield motion. A lot of these other Lumineth factions, you'll have symmetry in the sense of the way that their formations move is in perfect symmetry on the battlefield, or maybe their leaders are, enacting rituals and magics, in tandem, like this perfect choreographed thing. But this is just one of those things where, like, Illiatha does symmetry in a way that weaponizes it. There's no reason to think that, no other Lumineth can make clone twins. It's just that that's Illiatha's thing. It's their value system based on their priority to repopulate, which makes perfect sense. Now, one thing that's not really explained very well in this story, because I was desperately waiting, I've had these notes written for a while, and I was waiting for the new Lumineth book to see if they altered it at all, and they didn't really, but the thing that I want to know is, what are the consequences here, right? When they divide, do they both retain full memories and personality? That's the sense that I get. But then if one of them dies, or, in this case, even worse, is locked in the Realm of Chaos, are there any consequences to the original left behind? And let's say it's not even the original. Let's say it's the clone twin, because they are still linked. And so one of them is in hell, a mind-bending crystal labyrinth of Tzeentch, and the other one is just here. So, I guess what I'm really wondering is, does that have a constant ongoing effect where one part of them, the part that's trying to match up and be symmetrical with the other, is in hell? What does that mean for the other one? Did they go crazy? Are they damned? Is it something like they try to put that other part of their brain to rest, but they have nightmares and stuff? I would love to see a story about that. And that's the kind of stuff where, you just need a really good writer who can write about the struggle internally, like the struggle inside their minds and that kind of stuff, just as much as you need one who can write about external stuff, like the actual combat. Now, other things that this story does great, and why I think it's a wonderful depiction of not only, the Lumineth Realm Lords, but also specifically of Hysh, which is their realm, and they pretty much have a firm grasp on it, is the fact that it incorporates their history. So what I mean by that is, during their Age of Chaos, there was warp gates tore through reality all over the place. There was just demons pouring in, and the whole idea behind the Lumineth Realm Lords is that they go around and they seal these rifts in reality and patch them shut. And so then when the army came out, the idea is, hey, we're going to take this show on the road, we're going to go around the realms and just heal the setting of Age of Sigmar, close a bunch of these gates to hell, and just make the world a better place. And I bring that up because I feel like this story does a wonderful job of being like, hey, we're in Hysh. Here's a strictly Hyshian feature, which is their magics tore open holes to the Realm of Chaos all over the place. They have a distinct Lumineth Realm Lord ability in closing said rips into reality. And then on top of that, we're going to give you a unique story that only Illiatha can really deliver on. So to me, like when I'm looking at stories that really exemplify a faction and sub-faction, this is certainly one of them. Their ability to mend these tears in reality is core to the entire motivation of the faction. And here's an example of like, yeah, but here's how we in Illiatha go about doing it. So all in all, I thought it was a wonderful story. I'm honestly a little bit Lumineth out after doing my deep dive into Broken Realms tech list, which was an immense amount of fun. But this is just a story that captivates me because we don't see enough of Illiatha, in my opinion. It's definitely a faction that I would play if I was into Lumineth. But the thing is, because of that concept, the concept of how your society changes when everyone is part of a whole, right? And I mean that just literally as it was. Every one person, every one personality, elf, life experiences is part of a whole in that they can duplicate themselves. So there's at least two people who have had the same childhood kind of a thing going on, which is just very unique into how that plays into culture and their worldview about having to repopulate, and that's the emphasis. So I guess I want to see a book that also talks about their family structure and what day-to-day life is like. I don't know. There's just a lot of things going on that I'm like, that is so fascinating. And I'd love to learn more. So friends, in the comments down below, tell me what you thought of this story. For one, is it the most action-based, sword and shield clashing thing? Not really. But I think it's one of those perfect stories within a battle tome that exemplifies a faction. Just takes a small snippet and you're like, if I wanted to know about Illiatha and therefore the Lumineth Realm Lords, this is the perfect story to me. So friends, thank you so much for watching and listening, and I will catch you next time in my next Age of Sigmar lore video. Happy wargaming.